expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix. Brother Mike back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thank you for your time. Thanks for tuning into the radio program today. Our Bible study, The Rise of American Islam. We're getting Islamabized in America. Can you believe it? The devil is coming for us. I'll put the whole thing in perspective. It actually ties into the end, the tribulation, and the Antichrist. Would you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on? I'll make a couple of quick announcements if you make that call. This is Brother Mike. I'm the counselor from the House of Healing in Central Phoenix. We're on 11th Street, just south of Indian School Road and west of the 51 freeway. The website, HardcoreChristianity.com, has all of the information about our ministry. Wednesday night service for teaching, healing, and deliverance. Thursday night, individual prayer for everyone who comes for healing and deliverance. Friday night is my teaching service for my radio listeners. And you can sign up for the next seminar, which will tie into today's program. The Rise of the False Prophet and the End of the World is our free seminar in October. Sign up for that when you go to the website. And you can sign up for our free teaching channel on YouTube and our Facebook page. May God richly bless you. The devil is using a psychiatric technique on the United States of America. He's using systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization is a psychiatric process where you gradually expose someone to a stimulus that they do not like or they're fearful of. And as you gradually and repetitively expose it over a period of time, the people start to lose their fear of it. It's a technique used to treat people for phobias. You treat phobias using systematic desensitization. And it's a relatively effective psychiatric technique for getting somebody over their fears. But guess what? The devil is using it on us. He's slowly but surely doing what? Turning us into a country that's okay with Islam. And he has to do that because it ties in to the tribulation and the return of Christ and Armageddon. Did you see this article in the paper just recently? Quite remarkable. Listen to this. Quote, earlier this year, public school students in Madison, Wisconsin were given an assignment to pretend you are a Muslim, quote unquote, while students in Florida were instructed to, quote, recite the 5 pillars of Islam as a prayer, make Islamic rugs, and perform other Muslim rituals, the ACLU said last Monday. Now, parents of the public school students in Tennessee are protesting assignments that include writing a declaration that Allah is supreme, and textbooks that recount Islamic doctrines as facts instead of beliefs. Nearly 120,000 people have signed ACLU's petitions demanding a halt to such teaching. Quote, what if your child or grandchild's public school forced them to write out the Shahada? The Shahada is the Islamic conversion creed. That's when somebody converts from another religion or from atheism to Islam. And it says, what if your child's study guide had a section called Origins of Islam that included a statement such as, quote, around the age of 40, the angel Gabriel told Muhammad that he was to be a prophet of Allah, stated as a fact and not as a belief. It says the Daily Herald reported Jan Havney, a middle school supervisor from Maury County Public Schools, said the curriculum has covered the subject for decades and also covered Buddhism and Hinduism, but she told the Christianity section was being delayed. The newspaper cited state advisories that called for 7th grade social studies to begin with Islamic world and then move to Africa. Quote, the age of exploration follows, which continues into the 8th grade. Hanvey told the newspaper Christianity is discussed in the age of exploration, partly because religious persecution is one of the reasons they were searching for a new world. Maury County Director of Schools, Chris Marzik, said his teachers, quote, work together to make sure that our students are learning what is expected through the Tennessee academic standards. For this last section on the Islamic world, this past week, our educators had students complete an assignment that had an emphasis on Islamic faith. The assignment covered some sensitive topics that are important to Islamic religion and caused some confusion around whether we are asking students to believe in or simply understand the religion. Quote, I think this is the first time ever in the United States that a school and a school district goes to a mosque, unquote. Mosque founder Hamid Husni told the Daily News, usually a representative of the mosque goes somewhere. We don't have words to explain to you how we appreciate that. This is a very, very special day. What are we looking at here? What is happening all around the country? Islam is making tremendous inroads into our society all over the United States, particularly here in Phoenix. There's mosques popping up all over the place. And what the devil is doing is, through systematic desensitization, is he is getting Americans kind of accustomed to Islam. He wants American sympathizers. He wants people to get a sense or a feel that the religion is peaceful and that it's perfectly acceptable to have it in our society. In fact, right now there's a big debate politically going on as to whether or not a Muslim could be elected as the President of the United States. And in a radio show that I'm going to have on later this week, I'll go into this in more detail about the Antichrist, but here's the short version of it. The Antichrist actually comes out of the Middle East, according to the prophecies of Daniel, chapter 7, 8, 11, and 13. If you look at Daniel, you'll see that the Antichrist does not come from the West. He comes out of the Middle East. And the Bible says he comes out of one of the 10 kingdoms of the old Roman Empire. And then Daniel in his prophecies whittles it down to one of 4 of those 10 empires. And wouldn't you know it, the one of the 4 is the one that's making all the news right now. Guess which one that is? Syria. The probability is the Antichrist will be a Muslim and he will come out of Syria or in the area of Syria. I'll go over that later on a radio program later this week. I've got a lot of good information I want to share with you. But the point is, America is not involved in biblical prophecy. We're not mentioned at all. The vast majority of prophecies are included and represent the Middle East. But the Satan, when the Antichrist comes to power through the supernatural powers of the false prophet, and by the way, I'll be talking about the false prophet later on in another radio program, explaining that all to you. The Antichrist is going to come to power from the Middle East, probably near Syria or in Syria or somewhere in that area, and he will be a Muslim. And he begins to take over the countries of the Middle East until he is eventually in command and control of all 10 kingdoms of the old Roman Empire. And what happens is, at Armageddon, there's an incredible chapter in the book of Revelation that says that the false prophet and Satan and the Antichrist all release hordes of supernatural spirits, superpowered supernatural demons that span the globe and convince the other countries of the world to join the Antichrist in his pursuit of Israel. The other countries around the world will be persuaded supernaturally by powerful familiar spirits that are released by Satan and the false prophet and the Antichrist. And they are going to blanket the planet Earth to get the other countries to join in the pursuit of Israel and the destruction of the Jews. And what's going to happen is this scenario is going to set up Armageddon and the second coming of Christ. And in order for America to abandon Israel and become a sympathizer with the Antichrist and join in, they have to have a concept or a belief system set up here in America that Islam is something positive. And so right now, even in Phoenix, you'll see billboards on the freeway telling people that Islam is a religion of peace, and they have an 800 number for you to call to hear about all the wonderful things about angels and Muhammad and how much the Muslims respect Jesus as a great prophet of Allah and how much value they place on him, and that Jesus was a follower of Allah and that Muhammad is the final messenger in the last days. And you get all this demonic propaganda when you call these 800 numbers. The purpose of this is part of the master plan of Satan to infiltrate the United States with Islam and, in many cases, Sharia law. For example, in Michigan, in Dearborn, and other cities where the Muslims have taken command politically, many of them are pushing for and establishing laws that are the same or similar to Sharia law. Islam has to be seen as a positive experience, a good, peaceful religion, in order for the United States to turn against Israel and join the Antichrist in some capacity in the final attack on Israel and the destruction of the religion of Islam and the Muslims at Armageddon. Folks, you can see prophecy unfolding right in our neighborhoods and right in our own backyard. This thing is getting very close to the end. And it won't be long now until the rapture hits and the last few years of this age plays out. This thing's getting so close now that you and I need to be ready more than we've ever been to hear the trumpet call and to get out of this mess before this all plays out in the Middle East. See you next time.
The views expressed on the preceding program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program has been sponsored by Michael W. Smith.